It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantha Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. Welcome back to your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. I'm your host, Brian Cameron, and alongside me, my co-host, as always, from FanthaTracks.com, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hello, Brian. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Just about see me, yeah?
Just about see you. I've got a Santa suit on.
Well, with an orange sofa, what more can you do than wear something that's even more orange, you know?
Yeah.
Did you just throw a snowball at me?
I just threw a snowball. It's Christmas. I'm in the festive spirit.
You're right. How are you? Good?
It's been a good week. Getting set for the holiday season. It's the worst time of year for me at work. But yeah, busy times.
Good man. And I
And
believe
yourself?
you've just... I'm good. I believe you've just sorted that you... Fingers crossed you're off to Japan next year.
Yes, yeah, just booked my flights. Still have to sort out somewhere to stay. But, you know, once you're in the country, you're halfway there.
Take a tent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll be going to Celebration Japan and hopefully there's Disney Park over there and hopefully see a little bit of the country as well whilst we're out there.
You'll be in the Nintendo Museum before you know it. There you go.
There we go. Look, well, lovely comment there from Jack. Christmas has come home early, having you paid on a Sunday. Isn't that nice?
Bless you, Jack.
We'll send you the money later. PayPal fine.
Friends and family, don't forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no fees.
Brilliant.
But other than that, we've got lots of news to check out. Do we want to see what's coming up on the show?
Yeah. So on tonight's show, Manny from what was that series called again?
The Acolyte. It's good. You've forgotten about
it. Manny from the Acolyte has been talking about what we might have missed regarding Darth Plagueis, the fact that the show got cancelled. There's potentially a lot more to come. Let's face it, there's certainly a lot more to come because all we had was in Peek Around a Rock. Yeah, that's a shame.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is arriving this coming week. The official launch trailer's out. We'll be checking that out. Those of you that ordered it early from Game UK like me won't have it early, like the 3 days you're supposed to. And you'll hear more about that later.
I've already heard all the parties were moaning at me. And Dave Filoni has been talking about Ahsoka Season 2. And he's saying that he can't wait to get back to that. So that bodes well, folks.
Ewan McGregor is going to be taken to the stage for the first time in 17 years, which means that it's extremely unlikely he'll be joining me in Japan. We'll be finding out a little bit more about that.
Unless I stand in for him during those few days. Then, of course, we've got... What's this, Bri?
It's Brawlhalla, which is a computer game. And every so often they have a Star Wars event, and we'll be checking out the latest one and seeing what characters from Star Wars are going to appear in it.
Yeah. And then we're over to Jabba's court, and this is where we'll be talking this week about the the possibilities for the character of Jyn Erso, whether the character could be brought back into live action. Seems a bit tricky, but you never know.
Yep. Fans of Disney parks will be glad to know that Season of the Force and Star Wars Nights returning to Disneyland in California. And I think
I'm
we've
back.
just lost Paul. Have we lost
I'll be
Paul?
back in a second. Am I here? Can you
I
see
can
me?
hear you. I cannot see
Can you
you.
hear me? Well, okay. One moment. Let's just try something.
Yeah, I will carry on introducing the show. You try and figure out your tech difficulties. We've
Excellent.
got a new toy line from Hasbro called MixMashers. We'll be checking that out. There we go. Paul's back.
There you are. I'm back. I'm back. See, there you go.
Back
Magic.
in the room.
Next
And
matches, and we'll
we've
go.
also got Talk Out of Japan. They've just released on their social media Grogu Cutest in the Galaxy Episode 1. We'll be checking that out.
Ooh. And then we'll be looking at Jude Law, who's going to receive his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Ooh.
And last but not least, our new segment of the show, a Bon Voyage. Skeleton Crew
Great
Episode
name.
1 and 2 on review.
What a name.
Jack there saying in the comments, the indie rant is the only reason he's here. He's got the popcorn at the ready. So there is a whole stack of news, Paul, to check out. Should we get started?
Let's whiz through this. I want to get to that end bit. So Manny Jacinto on been talking about Darth Plagueis in the Acolyte, hinting that there was a lot more that they were going to explore with the character in a second or maybe even a third season of the show. Good luck with that one, Manny. But the fact that we just got to see a glimpse of that character, it does feel like we've been cheated, doesn't it? That we saw just that little bit of Plagueis, and I think everybody sat up collectively at that point in time and thought, "Here we go, now we're going to get going," and nothing happened. So had that have happened, had we have suddenly had some Plagueis action, then no doubt the Acolyte would still be a thing. But hey ho, there you go. What do you think?
Well, it should be an education to any writer or showrunner: is don't tease your best content, deliver your best content.
Yeah.
I noticed there's the Save the Acolyte fan group at the moment running adverts in Times Square, money that they've crowdfunded to try and get the show back on air. But the bottom line is, the one thing that determines whether a show airs or not is viewing numbers, because viewing numbers is what generates revenue. And, you know, Disney's a business. They're not going to put a show on air that's not going to make them money. And something like The Acolyte to make is expensive to make. All these shows are expensive to make. If it's not going to deliver the numbers they want, they're not going to continue with it. I think we were very lucky with Andor. For as well as critically received as it was, it didn't get great viewer numbers, but they'd already begun production on season 2 before it had been released. So otherwise, we may not got a season 2 for Andor as good as that was, and as critically received that was. So it's all about getting eyes on the product.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Andor, widely, from the people that saw it, widely well received, but didn't get anywhere near the viewing figures that they would have liked. So yeah, very grateful that that's coming back. I think off the back of the Acolyte, I was very concerned about what the Skeleton Crew was going to be like.
Yeah.
Did I like it? Was I pleasantly surprised? Find out later on. But yeah, it was a little bit of a worrying step for me, the Acolyte. I just couldn't get on board with.
Matt made a comment there as well, which I think is very true, that if they had faith in the show, they would have begun production on a season 2 sooner. In the same way that obviously they had faith on Andor in order to begin on a season 2 on that. Sometimes that faith isn't delivered in terms of viewing numbers, and it may still get cancelled, sometimes not. You mentioned Skeleton Crew. There's one thing on that. I think it was on our show last week. In fact, we spoke about that the time difference between filming and the ages of the kids means that if they do a season 2, they're going to have to jump forward in time. So you have to actually factor that in. And it's much more common on TV now for the studios not to make a decision until it's very, very late on whether there's going to be a next season, which means that you end up having multiple years between seasons. And we're seeing that more and more common on TV shows. I take, for example, Amazon Prime and their Lord of the Rings series. Still haven't confirmed a season 3 on it. Despite the viewer success that they've had in season 2, they're still to make that decision. You see it like
the same sort of thing
on
with
House of
Stranger
the
Things.
Dragon, where there's 2-3 years between seasons. It becomes very difficult as a viewer when it's an 8-episode season to wait 2 years between seasons, and it has become more and more common because the studios are so concerned as to putting 200 million into a series if nobody's watching it.
Yeah, I mean the kids look notably different between season to season in Stranger Things, don't they?
Yes.
So I mean, you could have a time jump of 3 years, 4 years, whatever they need to do for the kids. I think they filmed it about 2.5, 3 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, it was filmed on the tail end of COVID, I believe.
Yeah. So it would have been around 2022.
Yeah.
So it's been a good couple of years. We remember seeing them sat cross-legged on a stage watching the trailer themselves, and that was a couple of celebrations ago. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. But if it is massively well received, then they'd be stupid not to do some sort of follow-up.
Yep. Talking about something that's been critically well received, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Early reviews are in, and it's doing fantastic. I think it's up there somewhere north of 90% positive reviews. It arrives December 9th, tomorrow, on Xbox. Those of you who bought the collector's edition would have got 3 days early access alongside the premium edition upgrade and Game Pass. Except if you ordered from Game UK. So if you bought the collector's edition, like me, from Game UK months ago, paid them months ago, they can't deliver, not just on Friday, the 6th, when I should have got it so I could play 3 days early. Can't deliver on the 9th when it's getting released in stores up and down the country. No, their latest communication with me is that it could be the end of January or February. So I'll be on PlayStation potentially by the time I get it. So currently cancelled with Game UK, waiting for my money back. I'm going to try and get it elsewhere. Fuming.
Don't blame. I can see the toys being thrown from the cot as we speak.
Absolutely. And we could check out the trailer as well, because why not? Let's watch the official launch trailer so we can at least look forward in anticipation of it arriving.
Just to make your blood boil even more.
Every good story is true in one way or another. And I know one you haven't heard of. Dr. Jones. So what I'd like to do is put the guns down.
Go ahead. I'll knock your teeth out.
So what brings you to the Vatican, Indy?
I'm looking for someone. He stole something from me, and I mean to find out why.
Right now, I'm looking into the disappearance of my sister. And I believe Emmerich Voss is responsible.
So, this great circle, they think it's a conduit of some kind of power, correct?
Boss certainly does. He believes it'll secure his place in history. But I'll have to study it some more. A circle must be complete to what? There's always a trigger.
Good luck, Indy.
Legends say these relics hold a force that could change the course of history. You're messing with powers beyond your control.
You should know by now. I am always in control.
You're good at this, Little Jones.
I know enough to get me into trouble.
Don't you want to know what this is all about?
You're damn right I do.
There you go. So if you're a fan of beating up Nazis, or it would appear beating up Catholics in the Vatican, this is a game for you. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And I'm really excited because you can actually play the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, yeah,
Cool. That's cool.
great. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, I will get a copy of the game from somewhere other than Game UK. And then we'll have it live streaming.
Who's voicing Indiana Jones in that?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
And 4 hours of cutscenes as well. So there's like a whole couple of movies of footage in there as well. So really looking forward to it. And I will get to play it. It will happen.
I look forward to hearing all about that in February.
Yeah. So by the time I get Indiana Jones from Game UK, Ahsoka Season 2 will be filming in the UK, apparently.
This was really encouraging, wasn't it? So Dave Filoni, he can't wait to get back to this. He's living his best life, isn't he, old Dave?
Yes.
He's got Skeleton Crew, which, to my knowledge, has been very well received.
Yeah.
So you must be feeling pretty good about that. We've obviously got The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is pretty much in the can, I think, isn't it? Or is he
finished filming? Yep.
Yep, so that's all done. And then he's, like you say, he can put his big boy pants back on and go and do Ahsoka Season 2. So
yeah, he's also mentioned that he's going to be the only one writing it as well.
Oh, well, that should sort everything out then.
Yeah, so it seems to be all buttons ahead. Filming due to start in the UK in April next year.
Are you a fan of Ahsoka, Brian?
I'm not a fan of Star Wars animation, so I wasn't au fait with the character. Told Dave that to his face. But I've got nothing against the character. I wasn't blown away with Season 1. I did not understand when everybody was screaming at their cameras when the trailers came out as to why they're so excited because X character would pop up on screen when didn't have any meaning or connection to me. I actually connected more with all the other characters in the live action series than I did Ahsoka herself. Didn't think she had a great Season 1. Sabine had a great Season 1, I thought, as a character. Bale had a great season as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see how Season 2 progresses. But yeah, something needs to change with the character of Ahsoka, I think, to connect with
I know,
a wider fan base.
Yeah, she wasn't very engaging, I don't think. She was better in The Mandalorian, I thought. Yeah. Anyway.
Next in the news, Ewan McGregor is going to be taken to the stage for the first time in 17 years, it's been announced. Via the BBC, he's going to star in My Master Builder in London's West End. And it starts on the 17th of April next year and runs through to 12th of July. And with celebrations starting the following day, pretty much confirms that Ewan McGregor won't be at Celebration, I would suggest.
It does suggest that, doesn't it?
Yeah. It would seem wrong that if he took some holidays in the first week of the show.
Yeah. But it also gives people that aren't going to Japan a chance to go and see Ewan McGregor.
It is, yeah. Pop and see his show the night before you fly out.
Really die-hard fans there. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting news from you, and good to see him back on stage. I think it's something he's mentioned he's wanted to do for a long time, and it's a book that apparently he loves. So, fair play to him. He's doing something that he's going to enjoy for most part of next summer.
He's got that.
Coincidentally, obviously, he's going to be working in London from April through to mid-July. So will his wife be working in Ahsoka in London from April through probably the middle of July. So it seems like a fitting time that they're both taking jobs in the UK capital, I think.
He's at a great point in his career where he can do what he wants. So if he wants to go and do a play like this,
Yeah.
fair play.
Yeah.
Good man.
Next up in the news, Brawlhalla. Something you're not familiar with, Paul. So I reckon we just run the trailer before we start speaking about it, because it may enlighten you as to what Brawlhalla is. Did that enlighten you? So
the best bit was the hand in carbonite like that, because that's exactly how I felt.
Basically, it is a one-on-one beat-em-up Street Fighter type game featuring Norse gods. And for this event, the Norse gods are reskinned as Star Wars characters, and it's a bit over the top and giant hands and giant weapons, and you blow each other up and punch each other and try and knock each other off the platforms. And
just a bit of fun.
In a giant brawl. There's been about, I think this is maybe the fourth Star Wars event I think it's had. And as part of this event, you can also pick up some of the characters from previous events, such as Anakin, Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, and Ahsoka. Mentioned. On top of the characters for this one, you've got Han Solo, Chewbacca, Kay Vess from Outlaws, The Mandalorian. You can also pick up extra things like the sidekick of Grogu, weapons like the Darksaber. I think you can get the probe droid as well as a sidekick, avatars and emojis and all that kind of thing can be bought. So you can end up spending about 60 quid if you wanted everything from just this one patch event.
What platform do you play this on?
So it's PS4, which I'll also play in PS5, Xbox. You can play it on your phone as well. It's available on your phone as well. So it's right across all the platforms.
Okay.
And it's apparently quite popular. But if you want to get everything in the pack, you're probably looking at spending about 60 quid.
I'd never heard of it. I'll have a little dabble. I'll have a look.
Yeah, you download it for free on iOS and have a shot.
That's what I need to do. I tell you what, Brian, shall we head over to Jabba's palace?
I think we should. Let's go. So We're here at Jabba's court, and we're asking the big question of the week, which is, would you welcome a return for the character Jyn Erso to Star Wars live action? And Paul, this is based off of a comment from Felicity Jones to Screen Rant about the character, where she said that she'll never say goodbye to the character. She's going to live on. She could appear in many different ways, with it being Star Wars, whether it be a hologram or something else. And pretty much anything is completely possible in the Star Wars universe. So, based on that, Paul, would you have the character of Jyn Erso back on screen?
Jyn Erso was a brilliant character. In fact, I watched Rogue One earlier today. ITV2 have been playing all the Star Wars films.
Yeah, it's you could almost go back and watch the start of the trilogy that they started last weekend.
That's it. But I thought the character of Jyn Erso is fantastic. The ending of Rogue One pretty much does seal her fate.
Yes.
Unless they beamed off the planet, who knows? But no. So it's unlikely that there would be anything moving forward. Although
I was going to say, even at the start, our kind of character is kind of limited because she's kind of rescued and nobody really knew who she was. It was kind of really the start of her story.
So she doesn't know Andor, for example.
Her father, on the other hand, has probably got a story to tell.
Yes. So we could see him in Andor season 2. And then possibly, there might be sort of like he pops off and, well, no, because he hasn't seen her for such a long time, has he? He hasn't seen her for
That's
15 years. Yeah. It's a complicated sort of backstory, so it's one that would be quite tricky to sort of do anything even leading up to Rogue One like they've done with Andor. But who's to say? I mean, they could do something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a popular character, popular film.
Yeah.
Fantastic actress.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do anything with the character Jyn Erso alongside the Rebel Alliance.
No.
And you could perhaps do something with her alongside Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
A more rough and ready. I was going to say pirates, but don't compare it to Skeleton Crew. But not quite a rebel, but more a rogue, should we say, out in the galaxy a little bit.
Yeah.
The purpose of that story, I'm not too sure.
Seems purely fan service, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Yeah.
So it would have to be her and Saw Gerrera, and I think Jack there mentioning Saw as well. See a younger Jyn Erso with Saw, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. It's very difficult because they kind of boxed the character into it being one story. It's got a meeting at the beginning of the film and very much an end to the character by the time the film comes to an end. As much as she would love to do something, possibly the only thing would be holograms, like she's hinted at there. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's a difficult one. I think I would welcome the character back because I love the character.
Yeah.
There is avenues you could bring the character back, but is it necessity? So it becomes a little bit fan service, and it does become story driven. It kind of feels like a little bit. So you've had a very complete arc, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think we should necessarily bring characters back purely because we like that character. It should be driven by the plot. Jack making a comment here that if there's an age factor to it as well. If you're going to put her on screen as a kid with Cassian, then the question becomes, what's Cass's secret to a youthful look? Yeah, it's a difficult one. I like her as an actress. I like the portrayal. I don't know how you get her back on screen in a meaningful way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, of all the characters that have that you would like to see come back, I could see her return being the most difficult to explain, even more difficult than Palpatine.
and that becomes the problem when you try and sandwich a character back in for without purpose. It becomes something of a joke, really. We've talked before about Andor season 2, and we've got Krennic coming back. Will we have Tarkin? Could you have Vader? Could you have Palpatine? Could you have Saw Gerrera in it? There's all sorts to bring little cameos in the series. Some we've seen before, some not. Jin's father seems more likely to appear.
I was thinking that only the other day. We're bound to see him. I suppose what you, having just seen Rogue One again today, right at the start of the film, she's in a prison cell. So you could see, even if it's only for sort of 15, 20 minutes at the end of Andor season 2, some sort of like epilogue, which is like Jin's story about how she ends up in that cell. That might be quite a nice touch. So, I mean, with her talking about this, is this her trying to sort of like, I've actually already filmed this. I'm sort of kind of teasing it, sort of thing. That would be quite nice.
Quite often you find that to be the case.
Yeah.
What does interest me is obviously they're invested quite deeply into the foundations of the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
So we may see more of the likes of Saw Gerrera's character, and as Jack suggests here, it could be a little bit fun to have her as a kid, as a cameo in the background of Saw's story. That's maybe one way to include her.
I mean, this does cover, is it 4 years? I think they're doing 4 blocks of 3, aren't they? 3 episodes, 1 year. So we could have possibly a slightly younger version of her. Although, I mean, I don't think she's aged too badly since she's filmed this anyway. So I mean,
she's still looking all right.
Cassian still gets away with it technically being young. So so I'm sure she could. Bit of
Jack pointing out as well, we're still getting some K2 as well. I'm trying to forget that, Jack.
Yes, you're trying to forget.
Don't do droids.
Not a droid.
But yeah, it's one of these things where you've got an incredibly talented actress that you would love to have back in Star Wars, but have they written the story so well that there really isn't room for a meaningful role for her.
Yeah. And here's a little bit of trivia for you. Felicity's dad used to work at the same newspaper that I worked at, but he'd left by the time I got there. But at least we've got a slight connection.
Just a slight connection. Just enough. Just enough of a connection there. That, I think, chews up everything we can speak about on Jabba's Court this week with regards to Jyn Erso, Paul.
Yeah. It would be nice to see her back. I don't know how they would do it, but if they did find a way, I would welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree. And on that note, we can say that Jabba's Court is part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap of all the latest Star Wars news, and it's released as its own video every Wednesday at 7 p.m, so be sure to check out Jabba's Court on Fantha Tracks TV. Lots more on the news still to discuss, Paul.
Yeah, you're up next, I believe, with...
Yeah, we're coming up next with Season of the Force and Star Wars Night, both returning to Disneyland for 2025. I was telling you before the show, I found out something this week I didn't realise. So I'm going to share it with everyone to see if I blow anyone else's mind. Like, my mind was blown this week.
This is genius.
Yeah. Disneyland, so land, LA, California. So Disneyland's in California. Disney World, WOR, Orlando, Florida. And that's how you remember what one's which, because I can never remember which one's Disneyland, which one's Disney World. This week I learned a trick.
You'll never be at the wrong park again, Brian.
Never end up in the wrong part of America. Haven't learnt this amazing news that Disneyland is in California. Next year, if I wasn't going to Japan, I could have went to Disneyland between the 28th of March and the 11th of May and attended the Season of the Force, which will incorporate Star Wars Night, which is coming back on the 8th, 10th, 22nd, 24th, 29th of April, and the 1st, 4th, and 6th of May. I also, looking at that, was quite intrigued to go to the California Adventures Food and Wine Festival at the same time. It's my kind of thing.
Have you been to Star Wars Night before?
I went to a Star Wars night that was part of Star Wars Celebration. I think it was the first one in Florida. And it was great. It was really well done. And George Lucas just randomly walking past you and things like that going on. It was interesting. It was the first time I've actually done anything at night in the Disney parks.
It's good, isn't it? I went to one at the celebration that was in Anaheim the other year, and I hadn't got a ticket, and this guy just came up to Mark Newbold and says, "You don't know anybody who wants a ticket for this Star Wars night? I can't go now." Yes, I'll have it. So I bought the ticket off him. So me and Mark walked in with DJ Elliott and one of his sidekicks, Nick. Had the most amazing night. If you get a chance to do it, folks, do Star Wars Night, because, like you say, it's one of those rare opportunities where you can be at Disney well beyond its normal opening hours. There was firework displays with the Falcon as the backdrop. It was just an incredible night. Really is good fun.
My biggest takeaway, I think, I hate the jingly jangly Disney music as you come into the park at Disneyland. Hate it. It turns my stomach every time. I go to the park, and I'm literally the only person walking into Disney going, "Oh, I can't stand this. Oh, I'm sick of this. Had enough." Just that horrible, happy, chirpy music. They didn't have that at Star Wars Night, which was great. It was just Star Wars music as you came in.
I mean, and they do it quite randomly as well. So there'll be obviously the things that you want to do, like the rides. But we were just going for a walk. We were looking for somewhere to buy a drink, and all of a sudden you could hear the cantina music going. And you look to the right, and you look to the right of you, and there was a boat going past with a load of Bith on there playing instruments. It's just like nobody said this could happen. It's just really random. But
I don't believe they have the dance-offs anymore between the characters. I think that's been done away with.
That's a shame.
It is.
Why so serious, Disney? Why so serious?
I know. Terrible. Talking about serious products.
Yes.
Next up from Hasbro.
Now, these are a bit fun, aren't they? So they're leading you to believe that these are a new thing. But I have behind me here something from probably around 10 years ago. Now, these were called Hero Mashers. So they're bringing out these things called MixMashers, but there's Bosk as a Hero Masher. And the idea is the same. You can take apart these.
Let me go full screen so we can get a proper. There we go. You
can take these characters apart and you can blend them together and make different characters. And that's basically what this new, inverted commas, item is as well. Whether they're the same scale, I don't know. You might even be able to plug your old ones into your new ones, so to speak, and really mix things up. But they're kind of cute, aren't they? They're pocket money kind of presents.
Well,
I suppose.
You can't. The thing I didn't understand originally was, so you buy the Boba Fett one and you get all the Boba Fett parts.
Yeah.
So you can't mix and mash it until you buy lots of different ones.
Well, yeah, you've got to have at least two to do a bit of mixing and mashing, possibly as many as you can.
Yeah.
That thing.
Because when I saw the picture, I thought, so you get half a Boba Fett and a Stormtrooper arm, and
I seem to. I mean, Jack remembers them as well. I seem to remember that you could buy sort of bulk packs with like 4 or 5 of them in there. So, like you say, you could readily go away and start mixing them up. But more often than not, they were sold as they are shocking stocking fillers. They should be called
stocking fillers or Christmas crap.
Secret Santa.
And because it's Hasbro, it's not here for Christmas. It'll come in spring next year, $12.99.
No sense whatsoever.
So that's the Boba Fett one, which doesn't come like advertised. It comes like that, so you get Boba Fett.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the one I've got here. See, now you get flames in this one. You get all sorts.
Darth Maul there.
Yeah,
a naked Darth Maul.
Yes, dirty boy.
And with all his bits, apart from one obvious one. Chewbacca.
And then you can make that abomination.
You get a flame alongside Chewbacca for some random reason.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the Stormtrooper, which looks quite good when it's just made up like a Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Giant gun. And yeah, interesting.
Well, that's quite good. You can have him as a stormtrooper, or you can have him as a Tatooine patrol trooper as well. So that's quite good. The sand trooper.
It looks better on its own rather than mixed and mashed up. Yeah, not for me. It just feels like a abuse of the Star Wars license. Just to, what can we milk money out of?
That's it.
Yeah, and as Jack points out, if you order these from Game, you'll get them in the summer instead of the
Jack, you're on fire tonight, mate.
Jack's asking a question here. What's the age on your packs, Paul? Because these are for ages 4 and over.
4+, yeah.
Yeah, 4+. Okay.
Yeah.
That is Star Wars MixMashers. So having that abomination, let's move on to the next abomination. That is Grogu, Cutest in the Galaxy. Episode 1 has now dropped on the official Star Wars Japan Instagram account. Do you want to check it out?
Oh, God, go on then.
That's it.
Is that the whole story?
That's the whole episode 1. So basically, we got close to success of Grogu being eaten by a Lothcat, and it didn't happen. But I don't understand. It's on the Japanese official Instagram account, yet the language and the graphics is all in English. So I don't know. I guess they're just pushing Star Wars Japan product for Celebration next year. So we're going to get one of these, I think, all the way through April, probably. Then someone will pin them all together so you can actually get perhaps something watchable.
There'll be key rings, there'll be toys, there'll be T-shirts. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and as Jack says, someone got paid thousands to make that, and they're next in line to direct a movie.
Yeah.
You've got to have someone there to get sacked. You know, line them up. Someone having a better week than me, because
Jude
I've done
Law.
nothing but grump about Game UK. Is Jude Law, Paul?
He's somebody that's embraced the whole Star Wars thing massively, and I don't know whether it's because of that or that this is something that's been in the pipeline for a while now. But he's up for a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So at some point next week, 12th of December, 11:30 a.m., so around 7:30 p.m. UK time, you'll be able to watch the ceremony at the walkoffame.com.
Yeah, I guess he's successful worldwide, I think, Jude Law, but he's obviously very well considered in the UK. So I think most people in the UK will be quite proud that he's picking up this award, I think.
Yeah, I mean he's been around forever, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, The Holiday is a film that I've seen him in on a couple of occasions, which is he's pretty good in that. And he's one of the ones that all the young mums like him, don't they? So bit of eye candy for the girls. Fair play, you know. What's he doing wearing Lando's shirt? What's that all about?
Well, that I think Lando's going to make a cameo in the Skeleton Crew.
Ooh, hey, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's Lando's kind of people.
Yeah,
it's the whole pirate gambling.
Oh yeah, what if it is Lando that finally gets him back home?
Yeah, that's and it kind of explains where Lando was during the whole sequel trilogy. He was off on his own adventure.
So who's going to play him?
Billy, surely.
Really?
Yeah. Slightly de-age him a little bit, maybe.
slightly de-aging.
But in the timeline, it's not too far out from the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. I
So,
suppose.
yeah, I just think that's a little hint that we're going to get Lando, that T-shirt.
Yeah, that
But,
would be cool. That
but
would
that's
be
just my speculation. So Jude's getting a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We'll tune into that next week.
Yeah.
Or this week coming. In the meantime, you can watch Jude Law on Skeleton Crew.
I've heard of this.
Have you? Do you want to speak more about it, Paul?
I would very much like to go on a bone voyage.
Would you really? Would you like an ingenious new segment to the show?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's do it then. And here we are on our bon voyage, a
Just checking
journey
the
into
spelling.
finding out more about the Skeleton Crew, Paul.
Yay! So, since we were last on air, episodes 1 and 2 have landed.
They have.
What did you think? Have you seen them? Did you enjoy
I
them?
saw them both. I've watched them both multiple times.
Yes,
I
me
actually quite thoroughly enjoyed both of them.
Me too.
To some degree, a little bit surprised that I enjoyed them as much as I did.
Yeah. I was really pleased that the kids weren't annoying. They were actually very good.
Yeah.
Even the poor guy in the elephant mask. They did. No, I think they did a cracking job. It's better than I hoped it would be, and certainly better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, really enjoying it so far. Can't wait to see what happens. I think we get it the early hours of Wednesday morning.
Yes, it's about 1 o'clock, I think, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think.
Yeah. But you've prepared a few slides, I believe.
I
Brian?
have, so we could talk about the show and what our thoughts are. So, grabbed a few screen grabs as we talk through it, and this is obviously how they sort of built up the show at the start. Since the fall of the Empire, the New Republic has maintained order, and yet remote hyperspace routes are increasingly plagued by piracy. These pirates boldly brand their armoured hulls as a sign to all ships. So it's a very traditional kind of introduction to a 1930s, 40s pirate adventure, I kind of felt like.
Yeah, it's the Jolly Roger on the ship, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. So we see the pirates board.
I thought that was genius how they boarded it. So basically, you had a thing that sort of like bores into the hull of the ship.
Yeah.
Clips on and then creates the tunnel from their ship into the ship that they've captured. Brilliant! I love that.
The only downside of doing that is you board the ship and you can steal what that ship's got, but you've kind of written that ship off, haven't you?
Yeah, but you don't want the ship. You only want the money. You only want the loot.
Yeah. So we're introduced to the pirates and the pirate captain.
Yeah.
As well. Are you going to admit what you found out about pre-show, Paul?
Do you want to? Yeah, go on. I had no idea that this was Jude Law. No idea whatsoever.
Captain Silvo.
Not a clue. I thought he's dead, but yeah. Oh well.
And I thought it was obvious because it was just Jude Law's voice, and obviously he's been overthrown by Brutus, and that's jailed.
Yeah.
And that explains why he was in jail. But basically, it looks like Captain Silva's been captain for a while, but not been a very good pirate. They haven't been getting enough pirate loot to keep everybody happy, and he kind of puts all the effort into capturing the ship, loses some crew on the way.
Do you think there's like this hints that he's like an intergalactic sort of Jack Sparrow?
Yeah. And open the vault, and there's one coin there. It's a little bit like if you invested in the Hawk Tua meme coin this week. You think there's going to be money.
I've got the wrong top on.
And then you just lose it all in minutes. And that's basically what happened to Captain Silvo. He invested in the Hawk Tua coin and ended up in jail. And probably wishing that people are spitting on that thing. Oh dear, that's a new low for the
is
show.
this is taking an unexpected turn, but there you go.
It has, yeah. Let's get child friendly again. We'll have some breakfast.
Yeah.
Not blue
Let's
milk,
pour some blue
green
gunk.
milk. So, do you think this was came from the same animal as Luke in The Last Jedi?
It looked too watery to me. It was horrible. I mean, if that tasted anything like it looked, that kid did very well to act his way through that one. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Pond water. Ugh.
but that's obviously Win, and he's there, single parent father who's
Yeah.
a little bit rude to his son and hasn't got much time for his son. He's a bit work dedicated and
He's a workaholic. He's trying to do his best for his son, but he's getting it all wrong, isn't he?
yeah.
It's a real world problem, you know.
But Wim,
Nice house. Lovely house.
decent kid at heart is Wim. So he heads off to school,
Yeah.
meets his school pal Neil, who at the first attempt Neil goes Sith. So it basically suggests what I've said all along. It Neil's the real evil in this entire franchise.
We knew it all along.
Yeah.
But
Both
having
love Jedi versus Sith storylines. And so they kind of play lightsabers as they wait for the school bus.
And earlier on, we'd seen Wim playing with action figures. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
And KB and Fern, they don't take the school bus because they're cool.
Yeah.
So they take Fern's speeder and head off out in the forest as a shortcut to the school. So they get to school before Wim and Neil, who arrive and get directed by the droids in. And here is the lust of Neil's attentions, Runa, along with Fern's mother, who happens to be one of the very heads of the planet, it appears, working for the head of the school here, I think, and kind of maybe emphasize a little bit why Fern's a bit of a rebel, because her mother's very much part of the structure.
He's a careers advisor, but it looks like you don't really have much choice in what career you're having. It's very sort of laid out in front of you. This is what you're going to do.
Yeah, so they're all told they need to get a career path because they need to contribute to the Great Work. And those of you who don't know, the Great Work was a concept brought up in the High Republic series of books and comics, where everyone had to contribute to something, whether it be hyperspace travel or some form of science or whatever. And this is our first kind of indication as to Atatin, the planet that they're on. They seem stuck in old-fashioned ways to some degree, and this becomes relevant to the story a little bit later. I think we'll come back to. I think.
Yeah, it's on the surface of things, it looks like a very sanitized, very sort of like, I suppose it's meant to be like very middle America.
Yes.
And it's meant to look like happy suburbia. It's
A little bit
almost like,
isolated and perhaps not touched
Yeah.
by the troubles around it.
and quite false, almost like the Truman Show kind of sort of vibe to
Yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
And obviously we see a little bit of the suburbia you mentioned, and after school, Fern and KB still racing about in the speeder. Neil goes back to his family, who's kind of got a whole family unit there: mother, father, brothers, sisters, and compared to Wim, who goes back to an empty house, which was kind
But
of
a beautiful abode. I mean, that's been
Yeah.
IKEA'd out, doesn't it? Look at that.
yeah. And again, it kind of indicates his father's quite work driven and is kind of poor Wim's kind of been left to fend for himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, KB's very technical minded, going to work trying to fix Fern's speeder, which had broken down. Whilst Fern sort of does no work, but stares away into the distance. Very reminiscent of Luke Skywalker and needing a power converter, but also dreaming of something else other than where she's at. And of course, she goes home when she's kind of confronted by her mother, who's wanting her to do very well at school, be very well educated. And Fern seems to be doing well at school, regardless of her sort of rebelling elsewhere in life. Which compares to Wim, who's lying in bed stressed because he's got his big test the next day and knows he's not nowhere near ready for it.
He's a bit of a dreamer, isn't he, old Wim? Bless
He
him.
is. He is. And of course, sleeps in, misses the school bus. And so Neil's kind of left there to sit his exam, distracted by Runa, who's inched ever closer towards him. And Wim tries to take a shortcut through the forest that he saw Fern take the day before, but ends up crashing his bike. But on crashing his bike, discovers a doorway, which he thinks is a Jedi temple.
But it's not.
It's not. Interestingly, and it's something that occurs throughout the episodes, and I don't know if it's a clue to anything, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. These safety droids keep appearing.
Yeah.
And the safety droid, obviously very interested in what Wim's up to, couldn't care less about the fact there's a giant door there. And what's that door for?
I thought he was more of a truancy officer.
Well, I thought that until I saw the way they sort of interacted with his father later on, which we'll come back to. But your thoughts at this point, Paul, in the episode, we're kind of halfway through there, and we're starting to learn a little bit about the characters.
Yeah, I thought the pacing of it was great. It was economically told, but you could string everything together and work out that Neil had got a very nice home life. Wim probably financially not too bad off, but emotionally devoid of of any connection, perhaps, to his dad. You got the rebellious two girls, probably the cool kids. I think they're meant to be slightly older. Are they slightly older than women?
Kind of gave that impression, I think.
Yeah, maybe a year above or something.
Yeah.
So straight away, women's thinking, "Oh, they're cool. Look at them; they're not riding the tram to school like I am." But the fact that he's tried to do the same shortcut that he's seen KB and Fern do, and it's all gone awry, and he's fallen down into that hole. It's just a nice way of introducing this doorway to something else, and I suppose it's a metaphor in a way. It's a doorway to another world for them. It's Narnia, in a sense.
Yeah. We see the safety droid takes him back to school, where for the first time he encounters Fern face to face, having been observing her from a distance, and they strike up a conversation where he kind of suggests that he's found a Jedi temple in the woods, which interests Fern because a little bit like Wim, and she's looking for adventure, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And so on the way home, he visits our friend Neil's house, where we meet Neil's family. And Neil doing a Greg Wallace in the tub. It's got his trunk out for everyone to see.
Before we explore that one further, just go back one slide, please, Brian, because we cannot afford to miss the opportunity to acknowledge the fact that the holiday special is now canon. How
That's
amazing! True. That is brilliant. Is Neil's little brothers and sisters sat round watching the equivalent of CBeebies on a hologram and loving it. What's that all about?
The other thing, if you look in the background, there's like a teddy on the floor that looks remarkably like Max Rebo.
Yes, it does.
And these blue elephant-like aliens are not supposed to be the same characters from the band or the same alien species as the characters from the band. So I just find that interesting.
Maybe it's meant to be like an action man of Neil.
Yeah.
Anyway,
back to
the horrific bubble bath.
Back to Greg Wallace getting his trunk out. Uh, I don't even want to explain that one.
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no.
so Neil is basically told by Vim to come with him, let's go to the woods. And they head off on their proper looking chopper bikes with baskets and ribbons on the handlebars, proper 1980s. I love that. And head to where they discover the ship. But already there was KB and Fern,
Yeah.
because Fern's looking for adventure. And she kind of shows her kind of level of intelligence and command of a situation, I think, by tricking the boys into doing all the work to dig it out. And KB uses her tech skills to open the door. Now, at this point, I was kind of liking, I was really liking Neil's performance, and I thought Vim did quite well in this episode as well. I was really disappointed that the character of KB was almost like a sidekick.
I think
And
KB's meant to be like a robotic sidekick. I
Yeah,
think
almost like a robotic sidekick. And I hope that she gets her chance to shine.
I think she
Because
will.
I'm kind of looking at it as episode 1 was Wim's episode 2 was Fern's episode. So I hope they all get an episode to shine. I didn't think she got much opportunity to act, and it was really just Wim and Fern in the first 2 episodes that really got a chance to show what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And
I think she will come into her own. I think at the moment she doesn't need to. So there'll be some scenes which is just her. I mean, there's some quite nice scenes in the next episode, in episode 2, but we'll come back to that in a bit.
yeah, so they make their way into the ship, and for the first time, Wim's dad starts to show a little bit of compassion. He's worried where his son is, which I hope becomes quite a positive arc, and I think it will, because when you see some of the clips and trailers, the kids obviously make it back to Atatin because you see them with Fern's mother and with Wim's dad.
And for those people who have watched this with subtitles, the dad is actually called Mr. Wendell.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who know their 80s sort of music, there was a song called Mr. Wendell that did quite well back in the day.
So he's out looking for the kids. Meanwhile, on the kids, they find a deactivated robot that will later learn to be Shmi. And they start to explore the ship. We don't get to see too much of it 'cause it's very dark. But they accidentally power it up and it starts to take off, which the father witnesses. And the kids escaping it, in effect, even though they don't want to escape. And they kind of fly away. But going back to this scene with the father, and I think it actually, I'm going to go forward because I think it appears in episode 2.
Yeah.
We see the kids head off into hyperspace, and the droid's activated, gets his little Darth Vader scene, and then we get a great scene with Fern, and the actress gets to show her real acting chops here. I think in this scene, it's really quite clever and powerful scene where she convinces the droid that she's the captain of the ship, and he now works for them, and he, being a droid, falls into proper behaviors for a droid, where he falls in line and does what he's told, which I was actually quite happy with, because often you get in these things where the droids have too much autonomy, I think, in Star Wars.
Yeah. He's no K2SO, is he? Let's be honest.
No. And he pilots them away. And this is what I was trying to get to, where the father's out looking in the woods.
Yeah.
Rather than worry about the ship, again, the droids are worried about the humans. And so this is where I come back to, I think there's something going on with the planet of Atatin, where, without really realizing it, the humans living on the planet, and the aliens, the beings living on the planet, are really under control of the government.
Trapped, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
They basically, it's almost like prison. Yeah.
They are held captive and they don't realize that they're held captive. And it's also shown by the fact that there's a barrier that prevents people discovering the planet and it prevents the hyperspace travel. And these kids have kind of broken all those kind of barriers by getting out on this ship.
Definitely. Yeah.
On board, they start to encounter skeletons of the former crew, which makes me hope we're going to get to see flashbacks. And if you remember back to On Atatin, where they found the ship, it was kind of in a valley.
Yeah.
I hope that's caused by it crashing there, and we're going to see it crash in Atatin. We're going to see the whole story of this crew and what happened.
Do you suspect that this crew might be from quite some time ago?
I believe we'll find out they're going to be from the High Republic era.
Right.
And something happens and that planet cuts itself off from the rest of the galaxy and remains cut off for 100 years and more.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it becomes a legend with the pirates, which we'll see in a minute, because that ship was a pirate ship that went missing. And the assumption will be that there was lots of gold in that pirate ship and it was last known going to Atatin. And that's why it becomes a legend.
Yeah.
So I hope we get to see that legendary ship.
And do you think the title comes from these skeletons, that they were the skeleton crew, or is the skeleton crew now the name of this bunch of kids?
I think it's a little bit of both. It works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The old crew are now skeletons, and now there's the bare minimum of crew in terms of kids now running the operation. So I think it's a pun both ways, I think.
Yeah, it definitely works both ways, yeah.
Yeah. And we head to Port Borga, first revealed in a Legends book by Kevin G. Anderson, the Young Jedi Adventures, way back in the 1990s. And that is where the droid takes him on his ship because that's what he knows. And it's probably existed since however years he's been stuck aboard that ship. And they get a little transport down onto the planet.
And I love that. I love how they did that. How they had to have like a little transport come and take them down there.
Yeah, it was quite clever. Little things like that is the things that I appreciate, I think, in Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah.
The thought out real world. They first encounter prostitutes.
Drunks.
And who notices the kids and becomes apparently concerned. But, well, I don't know. The boys, they head to the pub.
As you do. Down the local.
And of course, he goes to pay. And this comes back to the whole Atatin storyline. He comes to pay with just normal coins that his father's given him in the morning to pay for lunch. And the pirates go crazy for it because it's Old Republic coins, which are worth an absolute fortune because they're so rare.
Yeah.
So the whole sort of bar kind of gathers around. How's this kid splashing about Old Republic coins? They make the escape, but they're quickly cornered by the pirates and an old friend of ours from The Mandalorian, Vance, who you've interviewed on stage, Paul.
I have interviewed him. Yeah, nice guy, Marty. Yeah.
So if you go on Father Tracks TV, you can look out that interview.
Yeah. We talked very briefly about Skeleton Crew because we couldn't say much about it. Yeah. I mean, he was in the first episode, but very much in the background. I thought, oh, there he is. But this was his prominent scene in episode 2.
And SM-33 comes out to protect his captain.
Yeah.
Because that's how he's programmed, how droids should behave. We're liking this in this series.
You like this droid, Brian?
We do, because he follows his programming. And he goes face to face. The kids look on in shock. Doesn't go particularly well, to be fair.
No.
As Brutus, the captain, basically blows him up. And the kids end up in jail, where they encounter Captain Silvo.
Who, until the other day, I thought this was the first time we see Jude Law, but no, apparently he's right at the start of them.
Yeah, I think he's going to basically have a number of personas across this series. I've heard one that's going to come from 1970 Star Wars comics. It's partly going to be in the next episode.
Oh, wow.
So I imagine that's who he tells the kids he is. But I'll not spoil it for those that don't know. But he uses
You've
the
really
Force
got me
to
wanting to know.
recover the key, which is an interesting thing to do because presumably he could have used the Force at any point to get the key and escape at any point.
Yeah.
So has he been hiding his Force abilities from the other pirates? And if he was
he's
Captain
very shrewd.
Silvo,
Yeah.
and he was an unsuccessful pirate captain,
Yeah.
was that conscious?
Possibly, yeah. Who knows? I mean, you know, they may just have written the most clever Star Wars story ever, and we just don't know it yet. This could be the one, Brian. This could be it.
Could be the one. But obviously, when he hears the kids talking about Jedi and the Jedi Temple and blah blah blah, that's when he shows his ability in the Force, and it makes you wonder: did he do that purely because he knew that would entice the kids to help him? Because there has to be a reason why he hasn't escaped the jail cell himself, because clearly he could have.
Maybe he takes these kids on, teaches them the ways of the Force, and these end up in the Rey film, the Rey trilogy.
Could well happen. The other question being, why does he take on different personas? Why is he hiding his real identity? What is his real identity, and is it relevant?
He is Mr. Ben. That's one for the UK viewers there.
So lots of interesting elements, and it's interesting it's taken to the end of the second episode to bring sort of Jude Law into it in a prominent kind of way.
Well, the first time I've seen him, you know.
Yeah. So what's your take on the first two episodes, Paul? Did you enjoy it?
Loved it. Really, really loved it. I mean, like George Lucas said before, Star Wars is really aimed at children. The fact that we still enjoy it as adults is testament to the film being really good, and some of the subsequent films, some of. But this, I mean, it was being touted as being very Amblin, as in The Goonies, E.T., you know, a little bit of Stranger Things thrown in there. And it's lived up to that. It's good quality. It's got a good story. At the end of the episode, you're wanting to know what happens next, rather than thinking, well, that was a hard 45 minutes to get through. You want to know what happens next. So for me, this is up there with some of the best Disney Plus we've had. This is up there with Andor season 1 and Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah, and that's part of why. And what I've shown you here, I've tried to avoid going down the route that many other people have done by showing all the Easter eggs and all the connection to 80 films and 80s TV, because there's hundreds of them. You can spend the whole episode talking about that. Try to focus on the plot, because this is a great story so far.
Yeah.
So it's great when you watch it back and you know, oh, look at that, and that name relates to that, and you can do that with the biker kids that Fern sort of rivals with have the same name as Harrison Ford and American Graffiti and all these kind of things. You can start picking up on all these kind of little Easter eggs, but none of them are necessarily important to the story. And so I've kind of focused on the story here because that's what makes Star Wars, is you become immersed in the story. And we'll all go back to it's knights and princesses, and it's all these kind of things that would go back to our childhood, and it's because you fall in love with the storyline and you fall in love with the characters. And I think that was what was important about this series so far, is that each character's had a little bit of room to develop, probably apart from KB.
There was that one nice little scene where the kids all wandered off, and KB was looking at different animals in cages and some fish in some
Yeah.
tanks and things like that. And you could see that there was like a wonderment on her face. You know,
Yeah.
these were things that she'd never seen before. So it was a very subtle bit of acting, but she can clearly act.
Yeah.
And from the interviews that Mark Newbold did with them, she was very energetic. So
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if she doesn't come into her own at
Yeah,
some point.
and I think that listening to what John Watts has said as well, he picked all the kids as actors because their personalities were like the characters. So I
Yes,
hope there's a lot more to come from KB.
Yeah,
And I'm not criticizing her. I just think out of all the characters, she's not had the room to grow that the other characters have had so far.
sometimes you have to do that to give the other ones space,
Yes,
I suppose. You know?
and that's why I kind of hope if episode 1 is Wim's character, episode 2 is Fern's, they're all going to get their moment to shine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that will happen as well. And all credit to the young lad that plays Neil, because he's given that character some believability, if you like.
Yeah, and I was watching it. I've been doing a deep dive into Neil, because there is not just him on stage wearing the ILM headset. There's also been actress on stage and a physical representation of Neil, and they've shot it multiple times in different ways, and they've changed up the scene to match the actor who plays Neil's characteristics and way that he acts out the scene. So his performance comes through really nicely. A really irritating character, but in the most wonderful way.
I don't know. I don't find him very irritating.
I do. He's far too nice.
You want to hate him.
I do want to hate him. I told you his first option he went to turn Sith.
He hadn't. I mean, Wim had at least got some sort of hilt. Poor Neil, he got nothing. Nothing at all.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, that was the first 2 episodes, Paul, and I was kind of surprised how much I enjoyed them.
Same here, and it's a testament to it. The fact is that I've watched it 3 times now, episodes 1 and 2. So that certainly didn't happen with the Acolyte.
No, and I think that's what makes this fun, is that they're very rewatchable.
Yeah,
and I think that's been the fault with a lot of the Star Wars. It's like, how many people have gone back to watch Jack Black and Lizzo?
Oh,
see, yeah, that's the kind of reaction. Some of what we've gotten in content wise has been hard to go back and rewatch. This was so easily rewatchable. And because it's so layered in the writing and the presentation, there's all these Easter eggs. It's fun to start spotting them. So once you've watched the story and you enjoy the story, you can go back and watch it a different way.
Well, I mean, I will be looking for some sort of YouTube entry where it states what these different Easter eggs and things are, because then I'll go back and watch it again. But yeah, I don't always pick up on things, as you spotted with Jude Law. But
it's when next week we find out it wasn't Jude Law.
And I'll go, get in. Oh dear.
But yeah, presently surprised. I'm looking forward to what's to come. The marketing of it, obviously they've tried to market it as not for kids, it's for everybody kind of thing. Not so sure that that's worked brilliantly. But I hope now the first 2 episodes are out and people are enjoying them so much, it gives it an extra kick and it picks up even more viewers for week 3. I'm interested to see what the viewership numbers are like, because this deserves a strong viewership.
I do know a lot of people that wait until all episodes have been released before they'll watch it, because they like to watch in that format, which is fair enough.
And it's also a difficult time of year for people to find time to put into something new.
Yeah, but I think I'm right in saying, Brian, that it's been pretty much widely received as being good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of surprised people. I think a lot of people, and I wasn't looking to hate on it,
but waiting to hate it. Yeah,
a lot of people obviously were, and I think it kind of shocked them a little bit that this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Kind of almost, and to the point that this is actually good.
isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which is a positive.
Yeah, it is, because there's such an attitude as well within Star Wars
Yeah.
fandom of looking to find the problems with things that
Absolutely.
um, this was one where everyone's, oh, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be about kids, and it's da.
Well, it's like hating on Star Wars has become like an obsession, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's a way to generate income from it.
Yeah.
But we'll
But
look
no, for
forward
me,
to this week.
really,
Episodes falling
yeah.
on the Wednesday.
That's it. A really strong start. Look, can't wait for episode 3.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we'll wrap up the first of our Bon Voyages. And Bon Voyage is part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap of all the latest Star Wars news, live streaming every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York. And it also releases its own video on Father Tracks TV every Monday at 7 p.m. Paul, let's go back to the big window. Let's come back to the big window. Interesting week having Star Wars live action back on TV.
Yeah, it feels weird, doesn't it?
And lots of news at the same time, and lots going on because of the holiday season.
Yeah.
So it's made this our longest show ever.
Yay!
But next week won't be so bad because we'll just have the one episode to cover.
And we rushed through that.
We did. But yeah, it's been great digging into it. It's great having Star Wars content where you don't feel the necessity to find fault with it. And just enjoy it. And just enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird that we've actually had something that we've enjoyed.
It is. And
it's like the good old days.
I think on that note, we should probably wrap up the show, because let's end on a high note.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go through all the things we've got for people, and then we'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring up the promos. So, first up. Oh no. Let's go back. I've done this wrong. We're going to end on a disaster, Paul.
Oh.
Let's do it a different way. Let's do it a different way. Okay. Let's do it this way.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay. Fathertracks.com is a place to go for all your daily Star Wars news. Everything from Star Wars to Lucasfilm, covering the films, TV, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music and art, interviews, event coverage, podcasts and reviews. Check out our social media for coverage from Furthest From, an event going on at the moment.
Yeah. You'll hear all about that on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, and TikTok. We've had Panther Tracks members of the crew down there in Fordingbridge, and there's some exciting stuff that's happened there.
Yep, you'll also get reports from the show on Panther Tracks Radio.
You will indeed.
Just go to your podcatcher of choice, type in Panther Tracks Radio. There's a host of shows covering collecting, literature, music, everything going on in different parts of the world. Regular making tracks, Planet Leia. Start your engines, Paul, as well with yourself.
Oh yes, the latest episode is out now. You'll enjoy that.
And of course, check out Panther Tracks TV for more Jabba's Court, more from Bon Voyage, regular gaming when Game UK turn up my Indiana Jones game.
That'll be from February.
Good Morning Tatooine every Sunday. And check out some videos as well from Fordingbridge, the Furthest From show, coming to Father Tracks TV this week as well.
We got there.
We did. I forgot for a second there that we've fixed the technology this week and everything's now working perfectly. So I still had last week's temporary file up on screen there from the end. But, we almost got to the end without any tech trouble.
There's no point making it perfect.
No.
It's better the way we do it.
It's a used universe is what we're going for. It's the Star Wars aesthetic.
We're not Atatin.
No. The sad thing, and I forgot to mention about Atatin, is if my theory that they've been cut off from the wider galaxy since the High Republic era, they'd never known the wonders of being under the Palpatine government.
Oh, what a thing to miss.
I know. I've missed that whole thing. So hopefully they'll be rediscovered in time for the sequel trilogy, and they'll get a really surprising return of Palpatine at the end, and they'll go, why is everyone talking about this being a really rubbish return? We've never met this guy before.
Please.
And
More
show
chance
him,
of Snoke.
show him some love.
Let's get some Snoke in there.
Yeah, definitely. On that
You're
note,
right then.
it's time for me to say it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
See you all next week, guys.
Bye.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at FanthaTracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow FanthaTracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.